All right. Coming back once again. This video right here is for the bass players. I want to give a great shout out to the bass players all around the world, no matter who you are looking at this video, and God bless you. And had a good question from my boy Darius on doing this video to all bass players. The question to JT was, should a bass player be the MD? Or what do I think about bass players being in charge, MD, music director? And do I agree with that? Yes, I agree with it to the highest, as a matter of fact. And I've heard a lot of people, because I'm around a lot of different musicians, will tell you that, the bass players shouldn't do this, the bass players shouldn't do that. They don't know what they're doing. And I'm going to tell you something, because I'm going to talk about both sides in this video. A lot of people overlook bass players. I don't know why. When you talk about a drummer and a bass player, the foundation, I know drummers that are MDs, bass players that are MD. And I always tell people like this, big brother, as long as the person is right, they humble, they are serious about what they're doing, I don't care who's in charge. And what a lot of people don't understand is that the average bass player, let me just talk about the ones that I know. Most bass players that I know was a drummer first. They started off on the drums, then they went to the bass. Then they went to the bass to the lead guitar. Some went to the keyboard. I know bass players that are dynamic. They are gifted on the keyboard, the drums, and the bass, and the lead guitar. And some of them can play more instruments than that. And when you get to talking about who can't be in charge, there's something wrong with that. And I don't have no problem with whoever's over me. I'm myself, I'm always the MD. I'm the music director. I'm the minister of music. When I go out, I'm always in charge. But it's nothing for me to step to the side, brother. Let me give you a good example. Me and my little brother. My little brother's a bass player. Y'all know Lil JT. Lil JT is capable of doing whatever. And a lot of times I turn the stuff over to him. And he want to turn it back over to me. My point is, we don't care who's doing it, because he have a lot of ideas. Lil JT can jump on the lead. He can jump on the bass. He can jump on the drums. He can jump on the saxophone. He's gifted more than me. I wish I could play the bass like him, but I can't. I play a little bass. I wouldn't call myself a bass player. I nitpick on it. But my little brother, he is a bass player. And I let him be the MD a lot of times, because I say, put it together. So when we come together in the room, just like we did a few days ago, I focus on him. I said, you let us know what's up. Now, let's flip it around. I got a partner named Brandon who played the drums. Big shout out to you, B. If you're looking at this video, B could be the MD. When it comes to our band, we don't care. B is the drummer. He's the timekeeper. Him and the bass player, my little brother, they like this. And when they are clicking, oh, what a beautiful sound that it is. So when you talk about a bass player can't be the MD or a drummer can't be the MD, I strongly disagree with that. Reminds me of my boy Mike Frazier. If you ever are familiar with Mike Frazier, who did the Surviving the Storm, beautiful, I don't want to say beautiful testimony, but he's still living because of what happened. He was the one, whole family was wiped out in the flood. As a matter of fact, when Tyler Perry first started, when Tyler first came out, Mike Frazier was the MD. And Mike was putting things together. Mike was the bass player. So it really to me, it don't matter who's over who, as long as the one that's the MD, the music director, is right. I see this a lot of times when I'm talking to musicians, a lot of organ players. They have a problem with the bass player for some reason. And people think that that's all they know is he's just a bass player. Well, everybody I know that play the bass, they are not just a bass player. They are more than a bass player. Like I say about my boy Greg. My boy Greg is a cold lead guitar player, but Greg can play the bass also. Greg can get on the keyboard and play chords. Greg can be over you. That's why I say it doesn't matter. And we need to get to the point to stop putting so much emphasis on one person. It's people like this on the organ. If you ain't on the organ, you ain't doing nothing. I did a whole video about some people think because they're on the organ, they better than the piano player. And that's a bunch of confusion. Just because you decide to play the piano and not the organ does not make the person on the organ better than you. I'm getting sick and tired of all this who's better than who stuff, just to be honest. When everybody's different, everybody's creative in their own kind of way. So when it comes to who a bass player can be the MD, yes. Let me tell you something. I love when people are MD. I love following somebody as long as they write because I'm going to do my part. And I always like to use our band for an example because, like I say, my boy Brandon can be the MD on the drums. My boy on the horn can be the MD if he want to. Marvell can be the MD. Or Lil JT, he can be the MD. It does not matter. You know why? Because we get along. We are humble. Now, we have our ups and downs and disagreements, but that comes with the territory. But at the same time, we are on the same focus. And let me tell you something else. You can't play with everybody. But there's so many people that want to be, they want to have this power. So to all the bass players, big shout out to you. And Darius, I hope I'm answering your questions in this email. Yes, I don't have no problem with a bass player being over me, brother. I don't have a problem with a choir director directing in front of me like most people do. I'm different. I'm not, stuck up like most people, man. Anybody that's going to help me to make my job easier, big shout out to them. And that's why I say the reason why a bass player knows how it's supposed to go, a true bass player knows the way it's supposed to go because 9 times out of 10, they done played every instrument. I have ran bass lines, I don't know how many years, man. And I always, like I tell my little brother, this was my problem, my left hand. My hand, this was my problem because I could never chord like I want because I ran bass lines for so long without having a bass player. And it kind of handicapped me in so many ways. That's why right now I can get on the keyboard and I run the mess out some bass lines. But I also worked on my weakness. My weakness was chording with this left hand. Now I have my bass player, my little brother, I can chord a lot. But we did a 3-piece for a long time where my little brother would play the lead. And by him being the lead guitar player, he was doing a solo. I wanted to follow him, let him be the MD, and I had to run the bass lines on the motif or whatever keyboard I had back then. So, yes, I believe that anybody could. I think Calvin Rogers is the MD a lot of times. If you know Calvin Rogers, then you know who I'm talking about. He played with Marvin Sapp a lot. He played with Fred Hammond, I believe. Calvin Rogers is a dynamic drummer. And a lot of times people don't want to see the drummer be the MD or they don't want the bass player to be the MD. Let me tell you something. When you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. And being the MD, since we talking about it, it's no joke. You know why? A lot of people don't want to be it because you got to be the one to hire people. You got to be the one to fire people. You got to be the one to get cussed out, take in all the mess. It all falls on you when you're the MD. Trust me, I'm not talking about what I've heard people say. I'm talking about my personal experience as being the music director. Man, you will get into it with some folks and they will be ready to fight you and cuss you out. Especially if you are dealing with friends. You have to cut your own friends loose and tell them what the deal is. I tell people all the time, you have to have that side of you that you don't let folks run you over. If it's your own brother. You ought to see me and my brothers get in a room together sometime. And we getting ready to put, the band. If I got an older brother, Big JT, he play the drums. See, all of us is JTs. Let me clear that up also in this video too. Lil JT is not my son, that's my little brother. So let me clear that up in this video, even though he feel like a son to me sometimes because we done been together a long time. And when we get in the room, y'all know Papa JT. See, Papa JT drilled us. He installed all this in us. And when we wrong with each other, we let each other know when we wrong and we let each other know when we right. And it might not look pretty. It might be some things said, but we focus on the solution and not the problem. We know what the problem be. So this is why I always say you can't play with everybody. And if you are the one that's the MD, then you can feel what JT is saying in this video. Big shout out once again to all bass players. HUD, if you're looking at this video, you keep on playing that bass, man. Don't let nobody stop you, man, from doing what you love. But let me say this also, everybody's not cut out to be the music director. You got to have a good attitude. You got to be humble. But at the same time, you can't take no mess. You have to be on time. One thing none of us seem like we like to do is to be on time. Let me tell you something about JT. JT will close the door on you. Ask my boys about me. If I say 8 o'clock, I need you here at 7:55. If you hear at 8:01 or 8:02, you better have a good reason. See, I'm real strict when it comes to time. I'm the same way with the choir at church. I get started without you. I don't sit up. You know what people that ain't on time doing? They punish it for the ones that's there on time. And see, I let folks know time is something that you can't get back. And time is very valuable. A lot of people want to be the MD, but they don't want to put in the work. They want to just have that power. And a lot of people want to just do it so they can show off and be the big man. I'm the MD. I'm the music director. And then you got this conflict. Excuse me. Why the bass player? What is he doing being the MD? Why it's not the piano man? Or what? Come on. Why is it, what the drummer doing being the MD? Anybody can be the MD as long as they're all right. This is just how I feel on it. You don't have to agree. This is JT way of thinking about it. This is what I do as an MD. If my little brother want to be it, that's fine. If the drummer want to be it, JT don't have no problem. Because my boy's going to be right. And best believe I'm going to be right, because I'm not going to invite folks in to stuff that's jacked up. You got to go hard on each other. You got to have tough love. Let me tell you something. Like I told my sister I should have had the camera going the other night to show how, not to say that I know it all, but to show you how we air out our differences as men. Talk as men without fussing and fighting and cussing, but laying everything on the table. We all know what's wrong with each other, and we all need to work on what we need to work on. I should have had the camera going, because that's how we get down over here where we at in D-Town. So, Hidden Cliff, I know you can relate to what I'm saying in this video. And Minnie Man, I know you are familiar with having to run those bass lines, brother, because I know you don't have a bass player either. You probably haven't had one in years, or never even probably really had a bass player, but you are always in charge. Not only are you a minister of music, but you are Walker's Music. You are the founder, the head. So, and you have to fire a lot of people. You got to get into it with a lot of people, and people tend to take your kindness for weakness. So I didn't even mean for this video to get that long. But to all the bass players, man, yes, I agree with the bass player being the MD. I don't see why not, unless they jacked up and ain't right, then they need to get on somewhere. When you have a band, that is the hardest thing to keep together. When you have a choir, that is the hardest thing to keep together. When you have a group, that's the hardest thing to keep together. When you have a church, that is the hardest thing to keep together. With that being said, may God bless you. May God keep you. To all the bass players, keep doing what you're doing. Peace.